Welcome to the Indiana Basketball Postgame Show with your host, Scott Laskowski. A production of ISB Media. Brought to you by Culver's of Bloomington and Bedford and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now, here's your host, Scott Laskowski.
All right, welcome into the Indiana Sports Beat Radio post-game show. I'm your host, Scott Laskowski. Welcome in, everybody, alongside the super sub, John Laskowski. Welcome into the show, Dad.
Thanks, Scotty. You're doing good. You're getting better each show.
I'm trying. Let's see. We are going to go over Indiana's performance tonight at Ohio State, coming up short a 13-point road loss, 91-78 to Ohio State. Dad, obviously a huge game, probably the biggest game of the season for the Hoosiers. Obviously would have loved a victory on the road. That could have solidified our chances at the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, came up on the wrong side of this one tonight. What did you see out of the Hoosiers, or what did we not see out of the Hoosiers that led to the 13-point loss?
Well, again, as in most games, it's a three-point shooting. That's the key for Indiana. We made 5 3-point shots today, not enough to win the game. And then obviously at first glance, give up 91 points. I mean, I watch these kids play defense, and they hustle. They get over picks. They work hard on defense. And I think it's more of a we just need to be bigger and stronger inside to stop some of the plays that happen around the basket to keep teams from scoring easy points. Now, Ohio State shot well from the three-point line as well, and then they've got a player ready to set the all-time Ohio State record, so they're all jacked up about him doing that. Last home game and senior night, so they had a lot of things going for them. It would have been tough, but Indiana was down 10 with 3 minutes to go, so they're right in the game. But it's kind of the same story. We stay with teams, but at the end they kind of pull away, and that's more, I think, of a nature of the roster. This is the second year for the Ohio State coach. And that first year, as Coach DeFries is finding out, that's tough. You're really trying to set your game plan. You're trying to show recruits the kind of ball you're going to play. And that's what Diebler did, the Ohio State coach, last year. And then this year, you kind of put it all together. And even then, you're still, 7th or 8th team in the league is where Ohio State's going to fall. And that's a very good year for them. So I'd like to see the second year for Coach DeFries, see what happens in the portal with recruits coming in and give him a chance to get his second year. He's already 1 year ahead of where he was last year at this time. He didn't have the job yet, and it's going to be much easier the second year.
Absolutely. You mentioned the three-point shooting. That has been Indiana's strength all year, and Ohio State won that battle tonight. Ohio State shot 11 of 24 from the three-point line for 46%. Indiana was 5 of 18 for 28%. That is an 18-point difference in three-point shooting, and we lost by 13. So I think that's the biggest difference in the stats tonight. Everything else was relatively close. We won the points in the paint. Rebounds were close. Everything else was almost identical. Turnovers, but three-point shooting was, I think, the big difference tonight. Once again, as Indiana usually succeeds in that category, we had some opportunities tonight that obviously Ohio State took advantage of. And once again, it was a huge game for them. And being at home, if the script was flipped today and Indiana was playing at home against Ohio State, I think we would have seen a very similar outcome. As you mentioned last show, Assembly Hall provides a 5 to 10 point advantage, and at Ohio State, I would assume very similar numbers there. You mentioned the stadium there, the arena at Ohio State. It is an NBA arena, and so it's different than the other gymnasiums that we've played in this year, especially from a shooting perspective. Dad, do you think that had any effect on us tonight? 5 of 18, first of all, usually shoot a lot more threes, but also we usually make a lot more. Do you think the size of the arena had any effect on our shooting tonight? A little bit different atmosphere?
I think most players can pick up on that pretty quickly in the pregame shoot around this morning, and then they probably had a practice last night as well. I think the biggest difference was it's the first time they played there. None of these kids have ever played at the arena there in Columbus, and that's always a little more difficult. When you come back that second year and get to play it again, then those jitters are over and you're ready to go. So a little bit, but it won't make a big difference. So I think the key for Indiana is we play so many seniors. We haven't had a lot of help from our underclassmen. I think 2 or 3 are still hurt and didn't play at all this year. We've got 2 or 3 that'll be coming in next year as freshmen. We've got 3 or 4 or 5 that'll be coming in as transfer portal guys. So again, we'll have a relatively new team trying to put together, although there will be several players who have played a year under Coach DeFries, know the offense, know the defense, and that's going to be a big difference between the first year and the second year. Nobody knew any of that except his son, of course, Tucker, what his dad was doing, and the rest all had to learn it. So again, that'll be an easier transition next year when practice starts.
Yeah, we've got some opportunities there tonight specifically, Dad. What could we have done differently? Obviously, giving up 91 points, you can say play better defense, have them make less shots. What did you see specifically out of the Hoosiers? 3-point shooting. We also could have improved on. What was the biggest reason that you saw out there tonight, or what could we have done better? Was it a game plan? Was it obviously Ohio State just wanting it more in the end? What do you think was the biggest difference tonight?
I think it's been our problem all year. It's just the matchups. We don't match up well against most of the teams we play, especially teams that are big inside. And Ohio State was bigger than us inside. And you could see when they got the ball low, they were able to score. That makes for easy points. Now, if those guys get stuck, they can throw it back out for 3-point shots with guards waiting there. And so I think we got to shore up our inside defense just with bigger guys that can and have a bigger presence in there next year. So that'll be something I'm sure they'll be looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about some of our role players as well. Obviously, Wilkerson is averaging 21 points a game and DeVries 13. We've got a lot of role players that we would like to see step up. Who do you think specifically on this roster do we need to step up in the Big Ten tournament here? We've got 6 players averaging between 4 and 9 points, 6 players. So we've got Bailey, Alexis, Enright, Conaway, Dorn, and Miles. Who do you think out of that group can step up and help support DeVries and Wilkerson as we try to make a big push through the Big Ten tournament here?
Well, I think it's going to be Alexis and Dorn. You remember Dorn got going there 7 or 8 games ago. He started hitting that outside shot, and then he kind of cooled off here in the end of the season. And don't forget, we're playing guys a lot of minutes. I don't think DeVries came out today. Wilkerson just comes out a little bit. And so now you've played 20 Big Ten games, and that's a lot. And it's the end of a long season, and they haven't been able to substitute much because of injuries and the best players he kept out there for a long time. So Dorn really got going there in a few games. And then Alexis has really picked up here lately too. Last 10 games, probably for Alexis. He's developed some nice inside moves, and he's really the biggest, strongest guy we have. Bailey's probably a little bigger, but he doesn't have the strength inside that Alexis does. So Alexis is getting down on the block. He's got a nice little jump hook shot there, and he's learning to move left and right and then end up with a layup shot. So Dorn and Alexis are the 2 that'll help us get through the Big Ten tournament. We'll have to see where we land here. We're going to play better teams than us. Let's see if we can win 2 of those games and then let the committee decide if that's enough to make it in the tournament.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of our role players kind of have their moments throughout the season. You mentioned Sam Alexis. I've been very impressed in what he's been able to do the last few games. Dorn had a stretch there where he was averaging about 20 points a game. He came in hot. I think Conaway started the season off great. He's kind of regressed a little bit. I don't know if it's obviously playing time. He's not getting nearly as many minutes as he did before at the beginning of the season. They've all kind of had their bright spots, but we really haven't been able to put it all together with the full team. So we can see the potential in what they're able to do when we do have it all put together. But once again, it's putting it all together at the same time, having Wilkerson and DeVries lead the crew, but also others stepping up with, at least 10 or 15 points a game, exceeding their average every single game would be appreciated. But yes, Alexis, Connerway, and Dorn, I think those are three huge players for us that we need to see succeed in the Big Ten tournament, obviously along with Wilkerson and DeVries. Speaking of Wilkerson and DeVries, Dad, Wilkerson has set many Indiana records this year, and congratulations to him tonight. He set the Indiana Big Ten scoring record in a season, and he also earlier this season once again had 44 points in Assembly Hall, which is an Indiana record as well. And so he has done some amazing things in his 1 year here at Indiana. What have you seen out of him, Dad? How has he been so impressive? His skill set, his game. What have you seen that's impressed you out there?
Well, the shooting is the biggest thing for Wilkerson, and the ability to score. I saw that game against Sam Houston that Indiana played last year when Wilkerson was with Sam Houston. We played him at Assembly Hall in December. He came in the second half, just lit us up. And this guy's just making shots from everywhere. And for somehow he ends up at Indiana and continued that streak. And he is just a great scorer. When he's having trouble from the outside, he drives in. He can score off bank shots. He can score going to the layup. He can dunk. There isn't a weakness really in his offensive game. And when his three-point shot is on the line, that's when he gets those 40 points. They mentioned on the broadcast today, first player to score 40 or more points in 25 minutes or less in a Big Ten game. That's just unbelievable, that a guy could score like that and not even play the whole game. The other great scorer back in Indiana's history was George McGinnis. George McGinnis was 2 years older than I was, from Indianapolis, Washington, 6'9", about 225 pounds. He only played 1 year at Indiana as a sophomore. They played 14 games. It was a 14-game schedule, so you didn't even play home and away. That didn't happen until I became a senior in 1975. So in 72, McGinnis averaged 30 points a game playing in 14 games. It just dominated the league. So congratulations to Wilkerson on his honor to score about 22 points a game over 20 games, okay? But that's how the game has changed over 50 years. There's more games. The shot clock makes more scoring opportunities, more shots taken, because sometimes when you got a big lead late in the game, you didn't take any shots because you didn't have to. So Wilkerson's really come on strong. And Tucker DeVries, I think, is also a player that we're very excited about. He'd been a great player at every school he's played at. Nothing like getting to play for your dad. That's got to be a great feeling for a father and a son. You saw the congratulations that the coach gave the son when he came out of the game, or his last home game. Tucker's got a lot of ways he can score as well. Played a lot more outside this year than he probably has before because of the size of the Big Ten, but still had a terrific year. I wish both of them had another year. The thing about next year is we don't have any juniors that are going to come up a lot. Dorn's probably the only one that's played a lot and can show some leadership, whereas just because of the nature of our team, we had a lot of seniors. We had to play them. And then the 2 or 3 guys who didn't play at all, we hope that their injuries are healed and they're back. But they've at least been watching practice, know what is expected of players, and can help relate that to new players that come in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been impressed with Tucker DeVries as well. Once again, Lamar Wilkerson, the things he's done this year is simply incredible, really. Indiana has a very storied history in terms of basketball, and he's come in 1 year and shattered a lot of records and been in the top 5 and the top 10 in many other categories. So it's fun to watch him play basketball. Any open three, it's almost 80 or 90% if he's wide open. And I think he's shooting around 40 to 50% in terms of contested threes. So it's fun to watch him play basketball. Love having him in an Indiana basketball jersey. Wish he was a freshman or sophomore and we could have him for a couple more years, but I think he's going to have a fantastic NBA career. Once again, the coach will always find time for a guy that can shoot. That's going to be something that no matter where basketball goes 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, you're going to be able to shoot the basketball. That coach is going to be able to find minutes for you every single time. We do have some injuries as well. Jason Drake, Josh Harris, those are 2 transfer portal guys that we expected to see a lot of minutes out of this year, unfortunately, really haven't played at all. And so I do know that that's taken a bit of a hit in terms of our depth chart and the roster as well. That's why specifically the role players that we talked about earlier would really like to see those guys step up. Talking about the Big Ten tournament, Dad, obviously coming into this game, Indiana was the last four out, or excuse me, the first four out. And we transferred from the last four in, first four out, and that surely a loss at Ohio State tonight is going to kick us pretty far out. What do you need to see out of the Hoosiers in this Big Ten tournament? Well, obviously, besides winning it, that would be ideal. What do we want to see out of the Hoosiers in this Big Ten tournament? Obviously, string together a couple wins, 3 or 4, make the championship game. We need to upset some teams here in the Big Ten tournament to have a run. What do you want to see out of the Hoosiers, or what do we need to basically improve on from now until then in order to have that run?
Well, they've been a fun team to watch all year. The style of play is what kids want to play, 5 out basically. So anybody can get the outside shot, can take it. You can drive to the basket, and there's no big center in there to help because everybody's on the baselines and the free throw line extended, so you can't get there. So the style of play, I think, is going to be fun to watch. It's the matchups that I think are the key. When we play a Michigan State or a Michigan, teams that are just bigger than us, that's where the rebounding comes into play. We've got to be a good rebounding team in the tournament if we're going to expect some wins. And turnovers is another one. I think we get a little careless with the ball from time to time, and our turnovers rack up. And that's really, especially when you're on the road, it gets the other team going. It'll be a neutral court in Chicago at the United Center, another pro arena. We talked about that, but I think our kids will get used to that. Very exciting venue up in Chicago that they're going to get to play in. The other thing to watch for is the last four in. Right now, SMU is one of the last four in, but they lost today. So that could affect them. And what do those last four ins do in their conference tournaments to see if they're able to drop down? And if the first four out, which Indiana is a part of, how do those teams do in their tournaments to see if they can juggle that a little bit? But it's going to be, I would say, the toughest year for Darren DeFries is this year, the first year, because you're just getting started. You're trying to figure it all out. Now he's got a game plan. Now he knows the league. He knows the other teams. He knows who's coming back. He's seen them play. Just so much easier in the second year. I think he's the right man for the job. I'm excited about what he's going to do, and wish we could get started here in November of 2026 and see what this team's going to be able to do for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to welcome in all of our viewers as well. Leave some comments or questions, guys, for my dad, John Laskowski here. He would love to answer any questions, whether it be about his playing days, commentating days. He's been around Indiana basketball for a long time, so leave some questions, and we will be sure to answer them throughout the show. You mentioned the next year and the toughest year for DeVries. Obviously, yes, the first year not gone as we would like. We saw Ryan Carr at IU's last home game. You've been impressed with him, Dad. What conversations have you had with him, and where do you think this team is heading in terms of the recruiting style, and then also where we want to see us be next year? Obviously, coming in and where we're sitting now is not ideal. What can we do from now between then to get us improved here?
Yeah, I did get to talk to Ryan just a minute at the last home game there against Minnesota. I remembered him from his days in the mid-'90s as a basketball manager. And then he was at the Pacer office. In fact, he was at the Pacer office in the nights when your mom worked there. And
Shout out Alice Laskowski. All right.
After we got done talking, Ryan came back over and said, "Oh, by the way, make sure to tell Alice I said hello." And I talked to your mom and mentioned that to her. So she really liked him. He's just a wonderful kid. He's got Indiana at the heart. And when the coaches are coaching, here's a guy that can go out and watch high school players, college players, kids that are going to transfer. And then what kind of team do we need to put together? What's Darren looking for in qualities of a player, both personality-wise and talent-wise? And then that's Ryan's job, is to help put that team together. So that's going to be a real advantage. Again, he wasn't here last year. He's only been here a week. So now Darren has that opportunity to work with a guy who loves Indiana, is happy to be back here, and can't wait to get started to see what he can do. He'll go to the AE tournaments. He'll talk to agents because these players have agents now, okay? So you have to have good relationships with the agents because they want their players to go to good programs with good coaches and a good philosophy, good for their player. And if an agent doesn't like a school, doesn't like a coach, doesn't like a system, he can let his player know that, and they have a big influence on where that kid goes. It's not back in the day. I made the decision. I'm going to go to Indiana, and that's where I'm going to play. And I didn't have an agent. And my high school coach is the one that helped me the most, and that's what most of players in the last 45 years, except for these last 5, because nobody needed an agent. Well, now you got some money coming in, you get an agent, and he helps with stuff you don't know. You know how to play basketball, but you don't know anything about this NIL stuff and the money, and you don't know about programs and which ones are good and which coaches are good, and that's what agents are for. So they do have a purpose. And I know Ryan Carr has a good relationship with a lot of those agents because he had to deal with them if they had players that they represented to go to the pros. So he's already developed those relationships, which is very impactful for what's going to happen with new players coming to Indiana.
Absolutely. A lot of exciting things going to happen in the future here. Once again, the Hoosiers falling at Ohio State tonight, 91-78. We're going to wrap up our thoughts on this game. Obviously, we have the Big Ten tournament ahead. Still have hope. We'll never give up on these Hoosiers whatsoever. We will hopefully see a deep run in the Big Ten tournament. Dad, let's get into a couple of great stories. Growing up as your son, obviously, I got to have the privilege to hear a lot of great stories, whether it be about Bob Knight, Indiana basketball, all the way through and through. And so I've been spoiled, and I'd like some of the viewers and fans to be able to hear some of those fantastic stories that you've told me throughout the years. Let's start with the Bob Knight story. This is one of my favorites. It's got a very personal connection for me because without this story, I am not here today. And so, Dad, tell the viewers out there about Bob Knight and the Wisconsin hire that led to him coming to Indiana, because once again, Bob Knight was not going to be the coach at Indiana. He was hired as the coach of Wisconsin before taking the Indiana job. Explain how that all played out.
So the year is 1970. Coach had been at West Point, the academy there at Army for 6 years, and knew he wanted to get back to the Big Ten. He played at Ohio State. They won a national championship in 1960. He knew all about the Big Ten and in winning national championships as a player. And so he had great experience in looking for that coaching job. And I think he always wanted to come back to the Big Ten. His coach, Fred Taylor, was still at Ohio State in the 70s when Coach Knight got the Indiana job. And in 1970, the Wisconsin Badgers interviewed Bob Knight for their head coach. And coach was in Madison, Wisconsin. They offered him the job. He said he would accept it. And the Badgers were not very good at that point, not like they are now. And they were a struggling team, but that was a Big Ten team. And coach decided to try that game. And he said, listen, here's the one condition on me taking the job. I've got to go back to West Point. I've got to talk to my colonel. I've got to let him know that I'm leaving. And I don't want this news to break that I've taken the job yet. And I will call you after I talk to him, and then we'll release it, and then I'll be heading my way to Madison. And so coach headed back to West Point, and even that night, the word got out from Wisconsin that he was going to be the head coach. That's just whenever you're going to see it happen right now. Teams are going to be losing their coaches, and they're going to be dying to know who the next coach is, and everybody wants the scoop. And the scoop was Bob Knight, and it got out. And coach found out about it, and he called Wisconsin the next day and said, I told you not to do that. And if I can't trust you with that, I can't trust you with other things I'm going to do. And I'm not taking the job. Go find somebody else. And they did. And he stayed at Army another year. And then the Indiana job opened up. Bill Orwig was the athletic director. Indiana had some tough times, both playing wise. And so the athletic director was looking for a clean-cut, straight guy, not going to break any rules. I'm telling you, that's Bob Knight right there. And Orwig had known him while he was a player at Ohio State and looked into it and hired him. And as they say, the rest is history. So it was a great opportunity for coach to take a talented group. I mean, Indiana had already won 2 national championships, 40 and 53. And he had some great battles with them. Walt Bellamy, Jimmy Rail, Tom Bolliard. Those guys played against Knight when he was at Indiana, when they were at Indiana, and he was at Ohio State. So he had a little Indiana connection playing against those guys. Got here. I made my visit. Of course, I told you with the hard hat on, Assembly Hall was just finishing, and what a great coach he turned out to be, and a great ambassador for our university.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of people to thank, because I think without that leak happening from the Wisconsin media, or whoever leaked that story, you don't end up at Indiana. You don't meet my mother, Alice. I am not born. And so thank you to whoever that Wisconsin media guy is out there. I don't think I'll ever meet him, but I would love to shake his hand and get him some free Culvers one day, because without him leaking that story, Bob Knight does not come to Indiana. He does not recruit you, and you don't meet my mother on the beautiful campus at Indiana University, and I am certainly not here today. So I owe a lot of gratitude to that guy, whoever he is. I appreciate you very much. And talk about some crazy coincidences as well. Dad, you were committed to Notre Dame. Grew up in South Bend, across the street, South Bend St. Joe High School, literally across the street from Notre Dame University. And you had accepted a scholarship to go to Notre Dame. And your senior year, you're all excited, ready to go. Hometown kid, averaging 30 some odd points a game in high school. You signed your scholarship. And then what happened after that? Talk about another coincidence. Once again, I wouldn't be here without Digger Phelps. Explain that story, Dad.
So our Christmas tournament, the South Bend Christmas tournament, and the South Bend sectional at the end of the year was at Notre Dame. They would, in fact, shorten the court, because the college court was bigger than the high school court, and they would shorten the court on each end so we could play on a high school gymnasium, if you will. But as it would be, the Notre Dame coaches being there, they'd stop by and watch some of the games. And in the Christmas tournament, it was right down the hall, no big deal. And Johnny D was the coach at Notre Dame. Austin Carr was their star player. Still holds the NCAA record, 64 points in the NCAA tournament game. That's Austin Carr from Notre Dame. And my high school coach, Bob Donowald, called me in his office in January, called me out of class and said, "Come on down, I need to talk to you." And I thought, well, he's got a new play set up where I can score more points, and he's going to tell me to play. But it was to let me know that Notre Dame had called to offer me a scholarship to Notre Dame, a full ride. And that's really every kid's in South Bend's dream. They just aren't good enough to be able to go to Notre Dame. And at that stage in life, I was just trying to get a great education. We didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't pay for college. So I had to get a scholarship in order to go to college. And man, to go to Notre Dame, that's just a dream come true. I had a trip to the Morris Inn. That's the famous hotel around the campus. It's about 10 minutes from the house. And I got a hotel room. Might have been one of the first hotels I ever stayed in. And then met John Shoemate, who was already at Notre Dame, big, strong forward, had a long career at Notre Dame and the NBA. And then Gary Brokaw and Dwight Clay were two recruits. I happened to be there on the same weekend visiting. And so we had this little 2-on-2 game. And, of course, Brokaw and Clay are kind of guards. They guard each other. And I'm kind of a guard forward, so I got to guard Shoemate. I mean, this guy's 6'8", 230 pounds, and he's just killing me. I mean, you can just tell that this isn't good. And so I'm sure he went back and talked to Digger, because Digger was there now, and said, "Hey, what do you think about this guy? This guy's skinny little kid from South Bend. There's no way he can't play here." And Digger felt kind of the same way. He felt that he wanted East Coast ball kids. He was at Fordham. In fact, he and Knight played. Fordham played Army back in the day. And he called up my high school coach and said, "I'm sorry. We've had a coaching change, and we're not going to honor that scholarship." And man, that was a heartbreaker, absolute heartbreaker. But of course, Coach Knight had gotten the job, and he was looking for Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio kids. He wanted Midwest kids. He was from the Midwest himself, Orville, Ohio, and he got to see a film, and I got much better, and I got to come to Indiana. Dream come true.
Yep, absolutely. So Digger Phelps, if you're watching the show tonight, I certainly appreciate all that you've done. Once again, I would not be here because you don't end up at Indiana. You'd be at Notre Dame and never meet Mom too. So it is wild how things happen a certain way, but I am certainly appreciative that they took away that scholarship and you ended up at Indiana. Dad, another great honor in your career. You were the first Indiana athlete on the cover of Sports Illustrated. We've got the copy right here. It is quite an honor. honor. Tell us how that came about. And were you surprised, shocked? Obviously, in 1975, Indiana had a fantastic team. You were the super sub, the first guy off the bench. And they had 5 starters. So technically, there's 5 guys better than you on that team. Tell me how you, out of everybody, ended up on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And we've got a viewer here that remembers that well. I'm going to post the comments here. It says John was on Sports Illustrated 1975. It was a great cover, everything like that. There it is right there, playing at Wisconsin. Tell us how that came about in Wisconsin and your thoughts and how cool it was to get on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
So, yeah, we had a very good team that year. And unlike this year's Indiana team, when I was a junior, we had no seniors on the team. So it was all juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. Okay. So we had a year to play together. And then the next year, everybody's back. So we kind of know what everybody's role is. And North Carolina State had won the national championship the year before. They beat UCLA in the final game. And North Carolina State was the number 1 team. A guy named David Thompson was Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant kind of guy, and they'd won the tournament, so they were number 1 until they lost their first game, which was in mid-January, and so we were number 2, also undefeated, and we got moved up to number 1. And of course, when Sports Illustrated finds a new number 1, they want to come find out what's cooking there. Who's the coach, who's the players, what's the reason, how do you become number 1? Well, they figured out quickly who Bob Knight was. Because he'd already made a nice name for himself in now his 4th year at Indiana, going to the Final Four in '73. And then, of course, we had the 5 starters back from the year before. And now they're in their 2nd year starting, and I'm the 6th man, And so the writer of the story is a man named Curry Kirkpatrick. And he was a Sports Illustrated guy. And whenever there's number 1 team, he'd go to the campus and talk to them. So he comes to the campus and, yeah, we got a great coach. Everybody in number 1 team has a great coach. Yeah, we got a great center, Ken Benson. Yeah, every number 1 team has a great center. 2 guards. Yeah, we got 2 great guards. 2 4. Yeah, we got 2 great 2 forwards. And then he go, well, who's this guy? Who's this 6th guy that comes in? 6 guys are subs, and that's short for scrubs. Okay, because scrubs don't get to play in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And how come this scrub is getting to play? I'm having just as many minutes as the other guys. I'm scoring 10 or 12 points a game, and so. It's like, wait a minute, I haven't seen this. This is different. And so we start talking, and I tell him my job, and it's going pretty good, and we're winning, and, that's great. And so I'm in class one day the next week. I know the story's coming out. We don't know anything about it, of course, but the story comes out, and there's a kid in my first class, 7:30 in the morning, and he goes, hey, have you seen Sports Illustrated yet? And I go, no. He'd already bought it, and he holds it up, and that's just the one you had. Said, you're on the cover. Yep. Oh, my gosh.
Here we go, baby.
John Laskowski, February 3rd, 1975 for 75 cents. You could have got that. I still get about 5 to 10 of those in the mail each year with a self-addressed stamped return envelope with a black marker. Please sign this for my collection. One day, a guy called me from Philadelphia. He had a sports club that collected them. He said, if I got 65 covers, would you sign them and send them back to us? He's got 65 guys in his club, and they all wanted one. So I put those on the kitchen table, and that took up the whole space, and signed them all and sent them back. So it was quite an honor. Sports Illustrated isn't published per se anymore; it's online. But back in the day, when your picture was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, you were the main man. And so we get to practice that day, of course. And Coach Knight did not like the article whatsoever. He thought it was just terrible.
Okay.
And we're kind of thinking, man, this is great. Sports Illustrated number 1. Well, he was not happy. It didn't take long to figure that out as practice started. And I'm out there doing what I do, as best I can. But he didn't think it was very good. And he stopped practice. Hey, John, you get your picture on the cover of that stinking magazine. Now you don't think you have to work out here anymore? Well, you're wrong. You got to still play defense. You got to, oh my gosh, coach, it's the greatest day of my life. And really that was to the whole team. Obviously he singled me out, but the message of the whole team was, look, guys, no big deal. We still got half a season to play. Let's not let that go to our heads. Let's make this thing go to the end. And it did. 18-0. First Big Ten Big Ten team in history to go 18-0. Go to every Big Ten team. There were 10 teams in the league. We played 9 on the road and 9 at home. We were 18-0, and first time ever that happened. So it's I look back on it, and it was dreadful that week, but boy, ever since then, it's been quite an honor.
I think Coach Knight was very good. Well, he obviously humbled you in that moment. He didn't want you to get too big of a head to where it affected the team. Yes, become the #1 team in the nation, but he knows darn well we can't get too excited about this. We haven't done anything yet. We haven't won a national championship. We haven't done anything. And so he was good about, minimizing the hype to keep you guys focused on the main goal at hand and not letting things get out of hand. So, yes, he did that. You could have been playing the best defense of your life that day, and he still would have said that comment because he wanted to make sure that you knew exactly where your head needed to be there. Yes, absolutely. That's a fantastic story and something that is super fun. I love that people mail that to you from across the world every single year. It's very cool that people collect those and are fans of yours all across the country and across the world. Very cool as well. Michael Matz commented today. He said, followed you, John, at IU, then your Hoosier broadcast later. Thank you very much, Michael, for being a fan as well. Dad, one of the last things we'll get into is the starting 5 best players you've ever played against, NBA, college. Obviously, you saw a lot of good basketball, and it can be even players on your own team. Obviously, Kent Benson was pretty darn good. Scott May, pretty darn good. What is the starting 5 best players you've ever played against, point guard all the way through center?
Well, let me mention before we go, I've got pictures of that Sports Illustrated at the Culver's restaurant in Bloomington, and I autograph those to anybody who comes in to the Culver's and wants to get one. And you're on the backside with the Culver's advertisement. So come by the Culver's in Bloomington, I can get that done for you. Okay, so my top 5. And yes, we had some good college players, but there's nobody better than the pro players. So at one forward is Rick Barry. He played at Golden State. He played at Miami in college. He was a 6'8", skinny kind of forward. Great offensive player. That guy could score. He shot free throws at 90% back in the day, and he shot them underhanded.
Yep.
Don't shoot granny free throws. They're called He shot granny free throws and made 90% of them. The guy was unbelievable. Okay.
Yep.
And then the other forward is Julius Erving. So Julius Erving is the first Michael Jordan. Okay. Yep. He was in the 60s and 70s, played for the Philadelphia 76ers, went to the University of Massachusetts for college. And that team was awful, except for Julius Erving. And then Michael Jordan followed him, Kobe Bryant, and now LeBron James. So that's kind of the pecking order, if you will, of those great forwards that dominated the game. And then at center, we have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was known as Lou Alcindor at UCLA when they won 4 straight championships with him on the team. 3 straight. He didn't play as a freshman. Dominated the league. He played for the Lakers. I remember I'm coming down on a fast break one time, and he's back on defense, and I've got the ball. Well, when you're on a fast break, you want to go in and shoot the layup, Well, not when the guy's 7'2" under there, So I pulled up about 12 feet. He was standing on the basket. I made the shot, so I wasn't going to get my shot blocked by Jabbar. At one guard, we've got Walt Frazier from the New York Knicks. There's a guy who played at Southern Illinois. Okay, very small school. Great player, all-time top 50 NBA player, played for the New York Knicks and Madison Square Garden. We'd have to go to Madison Square Garden and look down at the end of the court warming up, and there's Walt Frazier. And he's probably looking at me like, that's the guy who's going to try to guard me today? Oh, geez. And those were battles. And then, of course, my all-time favorite, Pete Maravich. Guy scores 44 points a game in college, and then played for the Atlanta Hawks and the New Orleans Jazz. And I had a great game against him in New Orleans, where they sold tickets for $1 in the balcony for the Superdome.
This is one of my favorite stories right here.
1976, okay, for $1 you could go to an NBA game and sit in the balcony at the Superdome. 35,000 people showed up. It was the largest crowd in NBA history at the time, because everybody else was playing in 15,000 arenas. There was no such thing as a Superdome. And for $1, dude, watch any game for $1. So we go to the game, and I'm playing, and I'm starting to shoot, and I make everything I threw up there. I get 28 points on him, and we win the game. And Dick Matas, the coach, he comes over and he says, Rook, he says, that was a heck of a game. He said, we got to go celebrate. He said, have you ever had raw oysters? I said, no, I have no idea what those are. He said, well, come on, we're going to the Pearl Oyster Bar. And we did. And the guys are back there shucking those oysters, and you put
Yeah.
them on a cracker and the cocktail sauce. And then they were a little hard to swallow, but boy, it
Yeah.
was a celebration that was
Yep.
important. I just got 28 points on Pete Maravich, my hero, in the largest crowd in NBA history. So
Yeah,
that's
just
a good starting five right there.
too many good stories and an incredible starting five there. Some of the best NBA players of all time. Love hearing those stories, and we've got plenty more as we continue on covering the post-game show throughout the Big Ten tournament. Hopefully, a lot of post-game shows throughout the Big Ten tournament, and hopefully through the NCAA tournament as well. Dad, we're going to wrap up today's show. The Hoosiers falling at Ohio State 91-78. We need a Big Ten tournament run here in order to have any postseason success in the NCAA tournament. Any thoughts, comments from tonight's game, Dad, before we wrap it all up?
Pairings will be out tomorrow for next week. We probably play Tuesday or Wednesday and see if we can win 2 games.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Yes. Well, for all of us here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you to all the viewers out there. And Dad, thanks for joining me as well. It's always a pleasure. And once again, we'll continue following the Hoosiers through the rest of the season. We'll see what next week brings in terms of the Big Ten tournament. But for tonight, that's going to wrap up our show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And as always, God bless the Indiana Hoosiers. And we're still and always will be football champs, baby. So it's all good. It's all good. Dad, I appreciate you tuning in and all your commentary, the fantastic stories. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
All right, Scotty. Good to see you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for